Like to call the property management committee to order. First order of business, approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the approval, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, first, update on sale of delinquent tax property.
Okay, I thought I'd just update you. You know, you've approved the sale of the 3 parcels, you know, of property that we had acquired through a delinquent tax where no bidders were present. And some of you may know we have placed an ad in the paper and stating that on March the 11th, next Tuesday, March the 11th, at 10 o'clock, we will be receiving written proposals on those 3 parcels. And those 3 parcels have a minimum bid requirement that was published in the paper, which was the delinquent taxes plus the interest and penalty that had accrued. We will receive those bids, and we then have to publish in the paper again that we've received the bids and this is the amount of money we got. And if one chooses to raise those bids, they'll have a time to do that. They have to raise them at least 10%. So once that time elapses, and if we get no bids after, you know, to raise these, and someone has bid the amount of money that's at least this minimum that we listed, then we can sell it and we can actually transfer the ownership of the property. So, but if someone bids 10% or more than the bid that was submitted in writing, then that person and or persons would have to come into my office with the person that submitted the initial bid, and we'll have a little mini auction to actually, so you have to go through all of those steps before we can officially make this happen. So is that reasonably clear, or do you have any questions? It's working its way through the system, but it's by statute we have to do what I told you has to be done to make this official.
You don't do it on the courthouse steps anymore.
Well, we don't hear that. I mean, the state legislature passed this law, and it's got all this stuff outlined in there precisely, and we have to go by what they've said. This is a new process. Okay, so anyone is welcome to come Tuesday, 10 o'clock to see what
Have you
happens.
got the one on Glendale and Laverne?
Yeah, we got all 3 of those in there. And the price is, I don't know which parcel is which, Ms. Cook, but first parcel is $4,406, the next one's $6,791, the next one's $6,485. So, but I don't know which one is Glendale, okay, without looking. So that's sort of report on that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any questions? Well, if no questions, I don't think there's nothing else we can need to do on that. Okay, next order of business is update on Daily News Journal property.
Okay, I mean, all of you know that we approved the purchase agreement, which contains therein a 60-day period of time which we'll do environmental evaluation and review. The environmental evaluation is taking place even as we speak today. They've been on site, so work is occurring. It'll be probably a week or so before we actually get their official report on what they may or may not have found, okay? And from there, we'll go forward to see what they've uncovered that may need further discussion with the owners of the property. So we don't know yet what we'll find, but we have to be prepared to take the appropriate action if there is something there that needs remediation. So that's about the extent of it, but they are on site, and I went over there even when they were doing a little bit of their work today.
I think the commission meeting is what, March the 13th? Commission meeting.
Yeah, 13th. Yeah.
You don't think we'll have anything by then, do you?
I don't know if we had something by then, I wouldn't have time to get you people to review and discuss what the options might be.
Even if there is a remediation, you know, they fluctuate so much in price, and I do environmental remediation as one of my many part-time jobs, and the price is going to fluctuate. You're going to have to bid it out. It could be a 2,000 job. It could be a 100,000 job. You just
Yeah.
never know.
You're right.
And then that's something that I know we had a commissioner concerned about that at the main commission meeting, and that is a concern. But I still think, I don't think that remediation is going to offset what that property's value is to this county. I still think that the value of that piece of property is still going to far outweigh what that remediation cost, if there is any.
But if
So-
there is remediation cost, just as you said, and if it's substantial, we're gonna have to have another discussion with the
Daily
property
News.
owners, and price will be subject to remediation. So we'll keep you properly informed, but probably we won't be prepared to.
Prepare for the next committee.
So this may put a little bit more time into the process of how we determine exactly what we're gonna pay for that after we determine, somebody helps us determine a reasonable estimate of what that remediation might cost. So that's sort of it. It is working, they're moving right along, so we're gonna know what we got soon, okay?
All right, next public building authority agreement for design of judicial center.
All right. All you had basically seen from me before was an outline of sort of the structure of how we were going to do this with the PBA and some county liaison with respect to a couple of committees, the Planning and Design Committee and the Construction Committee. And we've had our county attorney, as I told you we would do, they took sort of the format of what's already been used in previous agreements with the PBA, and they folded into those agreements the description of these committees and who's going to be participating in those. We have given this over to the chairman of the PBA and the PBA's attorney, Mr. Matt Murphy, and we've made a couple of 3 slight, just technical changes and deletions, but overall, it reflects exactly what we suggested that it reflects, and they're in agreement with this. They have not actually met. The PBA won't meet until tomorrow at 4 o'clock. But if this body here agrees that this document reflects what we wish to enter into an agreement with the PBA, then the PBA, you could make that recommendation subject to their acceptance of this. We do have to get their agreement, but we think they're in agreement. At least their attorney and the chairperson, and I think maybe he shared it with some of the other parties of the PBA as well. But I'm available to answer any questions you want me to, but the structure of the thing as far as how it's going to function is on the first 2 or 3 pages, and then you get into things that the attorneys have put in there just to define how this thing should happen in case something doesn't go like it should happen, is really what the rest of that is about. You'll know that this is in 2 different pieces. The first piece is for the design, to give them the authority to do the design piece of this. We can't actually give them the authority yet to do the construction oversight until we actually get the design, get the bids, and the commission agrees to fund the construction piece. So the second piece of this is just simply an outline of what we propose, how the next agreement will look. We will not execute that agreement. We can recommend the format of it and the acceptance of the basic description of what that document will be, but we can't execute it yet. Okay, so we can only execute the first one with your recommendation and commission's approval. We can execute the first one, and we can just agree that the second one is the template for what we hope to execute maybe 18 months or more from now. So I don't know if you've had enough time to look at that, but if you have any questions, we can review that.
While people are looking at it, I do have a question. I haven't had a chance to look at the formal agreement yet, but we did get a copy of the outline that I guess describes the form that this agreement's going to take. I was wondering if you could give us some additional details about what the project manager is going to do, maybe define the role of the project manager.
Okay, and that's one thing we've sort of changed because the PBA, they're not sure whether a project manager is the right approach or a construction manager. And they're a little bit of a different animal. The project manager is sort of one person. Construction manager is sort of more of a, I guess you could say, a concept where an actual construction entity. There are people that do just that oversee all of it. It's an extension of the PBA, an extension of the county to be a day-to-day facilitator, a person that's just really heavily involved in everything that's happening and being sure that all of this comes off like it should as far as the construction part of it, and et cetera. So if you'll notice, and this is one of the things we changed at their suggestion at the meeting we have at the PBA, the member, the last member listed on page 2 on that design committee is a project manager or a construction manager. And we haven't had enough deliberation, they haven't yet, to really decide which way we should go. I was first thinking about a project manager being a one person. That would be an extension of us. They think that probably we ought to think more broadly than that, in that the construction manager would have access to resources, not just a single body of person, that would give us more depth in being able to oversee the actual complications. This is a major, major project, and it's going to take more than we've been able to deal with before. So I don't know, I don't think I answered much what you were talking about there, but that's still something that's sort of in play.
That's kind of my understanding of the difference between a project manager and a construction manager, with maybe, and I guess I wanted to ask, would a construction manager be involved in any part of the construction?
They would not be delivering.
They would not be delivering, yeah, that's what I mean.
It's an oversight kind of process.
I guess my next question is, who decides whether we're going to use a project manager or a construction manager, and who decides which person or firm that will be?
The PBA.
The PBA.
Now, the PBA, as we work through this, I mean, this agreement gives them the oversight of this whole thing as far as the design, with the advice and consent of the mayor, which would be, I'll be your representation as far as how we want to project some of those discussions, okay? But this ultimately gives them the authority to move forward.
We had a project manager for the workhouse, didn't we? For
We
the Correctional
did
Work
have-
Center.
Yeah, the Correctional Work Center we did.
Okay, and
And really, it was sort of a team approach there. I guess it was more than just a project manager. There was a consultant that knew all about corrections, et cetera, and then they had another construction person. So that little team sort of served as a project manager, which is sort of what a construction manager group might do as well.
definitely, we need somebody to look over it. It is a big project.
Will the Justice Planning Associates be involved any further in this process?
Yes, if you'll notice, we have that defined in here. Well, let me sit somewhere. Okay, that's what we're calling the programmatic advisor. That's on page 2, that's Roman numeral V, the 5th thing there. And somewhere, okay, on page 3, item 2, it says the parties agree. We are agreeing before the fact that the programmatic advisor is a professional service and shall be Justice Planning Associates. We're going to continue that professional relationship with them, and they're going to hold the design team accountable to live within their projected square footages, et cetera, and space relationships, so that we can be sure that we can stay on target, size-wise, space-wise, and projected cost. So they're going to be another extension of us.
Okay.
Just any suggestions we have of this, we'll pass on to the chairman, who will be.
And your chairman is a member of this design committee, or his designee. He can choose whoever he wants to place in that. Yes. And he's also a member, he or she, depending on how this, who the next chairman may be, is also a member of the construction committee as well.
Any more questions? I see we got several people in the audience. I guess they're interested in this project. I know you should be up here at the table. I don't know why you're sitting back there. You have any questions?
No, I'm good with it,
Okay.
Have you
Anybody?
read some of this?
yeah. Just what was detailed in the last.
Come up here and read this if you
Yes, ma'am.
You think you were gonna get off the hook?
The circuit court clerk or her designee is still an integral part of the design part of this.
Do the committee want to take a couple of minutes to read it?
Let me show you. We got a new website. It's real easy to find. Have you seen our new website?
And you will let us know after the PBA meet if they agree.
Yes.
Would this be the largest project the PBA's undertaken? Do you know?
I'm sure it must be. I mean, some of you have been here. I don't
It
think
is.
they-
As
It
far as
is.
I know, it is.
Oh, yes, it would be certainly by far.
What was the jail tower when it was?
Did they do it?
No,
They didn't do the
we
jail
didn't
tower.
even have a PBA.
We
when
didn't have
started
PBA.
that
They
jail.
did, the clerk building is, I guess, the most notable building they've done.
All the workhouse.
And the workhouse, they really didn't do the workhouse.
Just really getting started with them, and I think PBA came on board right at the time of the workhouse. And we had some issues with the workhouse. Remember that with the architect and it was a mess, and I think that's what generated the full commission to look at a PBA for it.
Well, it's more than the mayor can manage with no staff, no additional staff.
Well, we had the brick problem at the jail too, and if that wasn't done by the PBA, you know, there's more oversight, more people looking at it.
Right.
I finished reading.
You have.
I have.
Any more questions on? And we will need a motion on this, subject to the approval of the PBA tomorrow night. So, do I hear a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Got a motion, a second? We have a second on it. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion
That was-
passed.
that was-
It was awful weak, but motion passed unanimously. Okay. Any other business do you need to bring up to us?
I don't have any other business unless you have some questions for any of us. All right, thank you.
Anybody got any questions?
Is there anything maintenance-wise that you see coming down the pipe in this year's budget, that new roofs, stuff like that, that I know doesn't have anything to do, other than our roof's getting done over
We're
there?
taking care of her,
Yeah.
that one piece of that roof. I think the Ag Center is gonna have to have a roof put on it appears. I don't know, there's other remedial work, but I don't know of anything major, okay?
Didn't know if no more boilers, no more water heaters.
Well, we replaced about all of them in the sheriff's building, so and we don't have many more, we don't have any other really like that, that's, should be a need.
What about the roof on the jail? Is that in
The
the?
jail, they're gonna, it may be in their budget, but they're applying for a grant.
Okay.
And hopefully they're gonna get that grant. We don't know yet, okay? So, but that's gonna have to be taken care of at some point. Either if they don't get the grant, we're gonna have to step up, maybe not necessarily this year, but soon.
I'm trying to figure out how old the roof is on that jail.
It might be the original.
I think it is.
It's the original. It's 15 years old or whatever.
I was elected in 90 and they moved into the jail, 90 or 91.
Yeah.
The original part, but now we're talking about the tower.
The
Where
expansion.
the roof's going to be replaced.
That was 99, so that's
8 or 9, wasn't it?
15 years old.
Yeah. Okay, any more questions or discussions? Anything else to be brought up? Of course, if you read this document and got any questions, you can always call the mayor's office. But it looks good. Do we need to take this on to the full commission?
Yes, sir. This resolution that you have just, you recommended this, we're gonna take a resolution on to the full commission for their approval.
Okay.
To execute the agreement.
Now, Miss Ely won't have to read the full
No.
agreement, will she? I wouldn't want her to have to do that.
Okay. Any more business come before the committee? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion to adjourn.
Actually, you'd be the one to have to read it if you had to read the full. It wouldn't be Miss Ely. She just